Well, hot damn. I was about to enter the little car show that's in Pacific Grove. But look what I spotted, an Iso Grifo. Yes. Kind of a special car. This was, 60s, 70s by the, from Iso's Attività Spa. Iso's special. They first started Isothermos, alright, making refrigeration units, and then clever guy, Renzo Revolta, came up with the Isetta, or Isetta. Technically it's Isetta, but you know, I'm from South Texas, so we say things a little funny around there. And he licensed that to like 7 different countries and 7 different automotive manufacturers. Made a ton of money. And so he then made the Renzo Revolta, which was a grand touring vehicle. And then came the Iso Grifo, which is powered by a small block Chevy V8. And they're just really beautiful cars. They're also one of the featured marks for Pebble Beach this Sunday. So I might just see this car there on Sunday. All right, we are at the little car show in Pacific Grove, and I love this. I love this car show. I always have to come. And I think the designation is basically anything under 1600 cc's, something around there. Off the bat, I already see my beloved Isetta. Ironic, I was just talking about the Iso Grifo, which the Isetta, BMW is one of the folks that did do the license off of Iso. You know what always gets the largest crowd is the Isetta. Like, I kid you not, alright? You don't need more than 1 cylinder to get the girl, alright? Is this a 300? Yeah, it's a 300. So the 300, I think, made maybe 13 horsepower. And why the Isetta was so attractive, why BMW bought the license from Iso, was because post-World War II Germany was a little bit of a rough spot, all right? And it was easy to get a license, a motorcycle license, as opposed to a regular license. And since it's a 1-cylinder little motorcycle engine they put in there, basically, voila, easy to be able to drive.
Yes, but I've never had to notice the procedure.
If you've ever driven an old school Mini, you know what I'm talking about. They are so fun. And it's literally, it's like a domino setting up for things for me to talk about. We looked at the Isetta. Now, the Isetta was a post-World War II bubble car. You know who hated German bubble cars? Sir Leonard Lord. All right. So Leonard Lord, in an effort to ward off having to see all these German bubble cars, he set up specific dimensions and handed them over to Sir Alec Isigones, and voila, Sir Alec Isigones created the Mini. Wow, which is like was voted 2nd most influential vehicle in the 20th century, if I remember that right. It's a fun car. I always digress. My mind goes in weird places. But Sir Alec Isigones, for the glove compartment, basically just wanted to have the makings of a gin martini. It just wanted to fit his favorite gin bottle and that. So on that, we're just gonna go over. Really, it's like dominoes. So we have a Moke, the Mini Moke, and the Moke is like 80% parts of the Mini Cooper. It was BMC's attempt at making money, at making military dollars. Now, the Moke did not succeed in that endeavor. It was kind of it did fare well on aircraft carriers, but not much for ground clearance. And Moke stands for donkey. But what it did do well is it's got a cult following. So island resorts, island something, the Moke, very popular. Like I said, just setting them up right behind me is also a Morris Minor. So before Sir Alec Isigones started working on the Cooper, on the Mini, he did the Morris Minor right there. Bye. Sorry.
We'll see this
Yes. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a thing. Yes, so this was Volkswagen's attempt at getting that military dollar. We just looked at the Moke and then the thing. Citroën had the Mahari, and then there's one I'm missing that I can't think of right now. Doesn't matter, whatever. Anyways, the thing, another one, cold following, like seriously. I did a video on one that had that comes into our mechanic shop very frequently. It's got a faux Acapulco paint scheme, but yeah, they're pretty cool. And they feel like you're driving a tin can, but a very fun tin can.
We avoided it for quite a while, the shortages,
MGA. The first time MG cars decided to try and streamline, be a little aerodynamic, and it was a hit. Everybody loves the MG, the MGA. They don't even have to know about cars. Some more? It's a really nice TC. So really, I have the TD, the MG TD, to thank for my love of automotives. My dad in high school, his first car was an MG TD. And you know what they didn't have? Mechanics that knew how to work on British roadsters. And voila, that led him into mechanic work and Shook Enterprises 40 years ago, starting our mechanic shop. And yeah, it's fabulous.
So, what do you think of the show?
You knew I was going to stop and talk about the Duchevelle. The car that got France's folks behind a wheel. Now, fun fact, while France was occupied by the Nazis, they practiced a little sabotage, and naturally the manufacturing plant was occupied by the Nazis, and they were making them folks work for them, etc. And you know what they did? They put the notch and the dipstick in the wrong place. So all these Nazis thought that they had the right amount of oil in the cars. They didn't. I love that little fact.
In the late 70s, early 80s, and I sold it because I couldn't go steam it down. I missed it so much. I'm just right by Spiral.
The Europa really is an interesting design by Ron Hickman, and you either love it or you hate it. I like it. Oh, sorry about that. The famed Austin 7. Now, Austin Motor Company started in like 1903 by Herbert Austin, and he was a pretty talented guy. Now, the thing to think about really is when Austin Motor Company first started making vehicles, they were making vehicles for like kings, queens, duchesses, you know, like royalty, blah, blah, blah. People with a lot of money. And they realized there was a market share that they weren't tapping into. And that's where the Austin 7 came in. Now, the Austin 7 also played some pretty pivotal roles in manufacturers you and I know and love, all right? So, after Swallow's sidecar company, they would work on SS cars. They would put, this is basically the beginnings of Jaguar. William Lyons and William Wolseley would use the Austin 7 chassis and put their own coachwork on it. Also, the Lotus Mark I was basically an Austin 7 that Colin Chapman worked his magic on in his girlfriend's garage. So, yeah, it's amazing what kind of what little history is behind this very cute little car. Also, Datsun had their way with the Austin 7. It was like probably, I think it was the most successful foreign, I don't know how to describe it, but Datsun did really well with their buying the license of the 7 and doing their own thing with it. So the Elan and the Europa share the same designer, Ron Hickman, and best little fact about Ron Hickman, guy is super rich because he patented the Black & Decker workmate. Yes, the workmate that you have in your garage. Same guy. Fun facts. The Morris Miners just put a smile on my face. Sir Alec Isigonis was just a cool cat. He was a cool cat. So I know everybody's always like supercars, hypercars, blah, 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 blah. This is one of my favorite car shows because these are all cars that I grew up with coming into our mechanic shop, Shook Enterprises, and I just love it. It's so... So something you should always put on your to-do list is going to the little car show in Pacific Grove. You won't be disappointed, I promise. The American Austin Company. All right, so this is the American shoot-off of the Austin Motor Company out of the UK, all right? Now, they wouldn't do so well, they wouldn't survive, and out of the ashes of the American Austin Company would be Bantam. What a little dick. I'll get that motherfucker. Anyways, like I was saying, Bantam would show up. Well, shit, that led right to a Bantam. Like I said, rose from the ashes of the American Austin Company, and Bantam's super cool, very rare. They would also eventually go on to create the Jeep that we know and love. Become kind of a ritual now. After I go to the little car show, I come and have a beer and a big old hamburger at the Monarch Pub and Restaurant. It's pretty great. It's a cute little joint. Cold beer, most importantly. This is an Elysian IPA. It's freaking delicious.